So we have an exciting show today, not just one, but two of our returning guests. I absolutely adore both of our guests that are here, and they're out just spreading so much insight on the wellness and mental health community. And so I am excited to be here with both of them. They're really having an impact. And so today we're going to focus on that. And I want to talk about the great things that they're doing for the community and humankind in general. So we have a lot to cover. If you haven't listened before, check out the episode with Dr. Cabrera from January 15th of 2026, where she came on and she talked about her practice and her journey and how she got to where she is. And you should have heard about Phil because he's been on several times. We do a monthly show together. We talk about our wellness wisdom on every third Tuesday of the month, and we have a few other episodes. So make sure you check those out if you haven't heard them already. But let's jump into the juicy stuff. I first want to introduce Dr. Emily Cabrera. If you haven't listened and heard about who she is, let me tell you a little bit about her. So Dr. Emily is the founder and owner of Dual Minds Integrative Psychiatry in Worcester, Massachusetts, where she provides trauma-informed, whole person psychiatric care, treating mind, body, and spirit rather than just symptoms. She's a board certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner licensed in Massachusetts. She holds a Doctor of Education, Master of Science in Nursing, and a CAGS and additional certifications in critical incident stress management, which is CISM, and perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. With nearly 20 years of nursing experience spanning critical care, emergency medicine, rapid response, medical surgery. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Dr. Cabrera brings a deep firsthand understanding of the toll healthcare work takes on providers. So her experience with postpartum depression and cancer, along with time spent alongside frontline responders, shape her trauma-informed approach and her commitment to walking alongside patients rather than simply treating them. So at Dual Minds, she treats pediatric and adult patients across a wide range of concerns: ADHD, autism, trauma, PTSD, substance use, mood disorders, perinatal, mental health, depression, and anxiety, with particular focus on frontline workers, nurses, moms, caregivers, and people navigating major life transitions or high stress careers. She also brings a legal nursing consulting background that informs her work with attorneys and legal professionals, and she supports educational advocacy for students and professionals seeking accommodations. So welcome back, Dr. Emily.
Hi. You make me like reflect on how much student loans I have when you say stuff like that.
I was thinking the same thing when I was looking. I was like, my Lord, how in the world? But that's okay. It's
Yeah.
all for the greater good, and that's what we're here for. So I love it. So welcome back. Yes, and here we also have Phil George, U.S. Air Force retired clinical biochemist and wellness educator. Phil George brings more than 40 years of experience in clinical biochemistry, metabolic health, and evidence-based lifestyle intervention to his role as a wellness educator at Dual Minds Integrative Psychiatry. His clinical background includes work as a clinical biochemist at Holden Hospital, Worcester City Hospital, and Doctors Hospital, all in Worcester, Mass area. Before his career in laboratory medicine, Phil served 4 years in the United States Air Force as a fuel specialist during the Vietnam conflict, a foundation of discipline and service that continues to inform his work with veterans today. At Dual Minds, Phil translates complex biochemistry and metabolic science into practical science-based strategies that complement psychiatric and integrative treatment plans, focusing on metabolic function, inflammation reduction, and health aging. He believes lasting change with understanding. When patients and clients can see how the body works at a biochemical level, they're empowered to make informed health decisions. So beyond the practice, Phil is the host of Wellness Wave Radio, broadcast on WCRN 8:30 a.m. Leicester, did I say it right, Phil?
Lester.
Lester.
Luster, I'm
Lester.
making up words here. Luster Cable Television, Dream Vision 7 radio network, YouTube, and podcast platforms. He runs ongoing community seminars across Massachusetts and New England, including monthly programs at Greendale YMCA, Veterans Group, the senior centers, and then also the Southeast Asian Center and Fresh Start, a program supporting formerly incarcerated youth. And he especially focuses on serving veterans, first responders, older adults, and underserved communities. So welcome back, Phil.
Yeah. Wow.
Woo, that was a mouthful. I had to take a few breaths. You guys are amazing. I'm loving it. Well, we have a lot to cover today. I want to talk about all the great work you're doing because I think people need to hear about it. I know that you're located in Massachusetts, but you do see people virtually. You have people on the team that can see people virtually as well. So we want them to know about how amazing you guys are. So let's just talk a little bit about both of you, and then we'll jump into the juicy stuff. So Emily, what was the moment you knew you needed to build a psychiatry practice that worked differently from standard models?
I think my work as a nurse, I've been a nurse for 20 years and my mom was a nurse. I had an aunt that was a nurse. We definitely have that gene where we want to take care of others. And as I was going through my nursing career, I realized that there was just something missing. And both personally, within my family, I have family members with mental illness and just taking care of my patients and myself. And I just thought I have to do better. I have to figure this out. So it's been a work in progress, but 20 years it took me to get here.
But you're doing it, and that's what matters. Wow. Yeah, I love that you were able to see the ins and the outs, have the firsthand experience, and say, I want to create something a little different. I want to offer something that's really going to resonate and connect with my clients in a completely different way. Beautiful.
Yep. I want people to get better, not just have a Band-Aid. Might take a while.
Root cause. Root cause. You're speaking my language. I love it. I love it. All right, Phil, your turn. You're up. No pressure.
Well, I'm just going to back up kind of how Emily and I got together. Is interesting. So we were introduced by somebody that was on my show a while ago, a gerontologist, and so she said you got to meet this woman. You guys seem to have a lot in common. So Emily and I met, a sponsor of my TV show, New Kitchen, and we met there. And Emily, we sat and talked for 3 straight hours. Wow. I mean, so and it's just like, and you walk away and you say, geez, that was like 5 minutes. It's just like, we just really hit it off. We just vibed so well. And, obviously we have the same values, but I think what makes us a good team is we bring different skill sets to it. And I think that's what it is. So Dr. Emily can do a lot of stuff that I don't do. And I can do some stuff I don't think that she can do, or that's actually not in her wheelhouse. So at Dual Minds, what we're doing is she's obviously doing a lot of the psychiatric part of it, the mental health part, and then I'm bringing in a lot of my gadgets. We talked about that before, Emily, right? All the gadgets I have. We met with a couple just yesterday. In fact, we sat down, and all the stuff I have basically in my house. I got every conceivable thing. So I bring a lot of things. In fact, we're the only clinic in Massachusetts that does that transcranial photobiomodulation other than the VA. So we're the only ones using that. And there is a ton of research, behind that. But in addition, I guess because your show goes all over, not many people can bop down to. In fact, what we'll do is we're working on now, Dr. Emily and I, we're going to be working on buying a helicopter. And we're
are we?
Yes.
Listen, I have not done flight nursing. I always wanted to, but maybe I need to add it to my.
So we're going to fly a helicopter, the Dual Minds Psychiatry helicopter, to where you are, and we'll bring you back.
That'll be perfect. I was just wondering if you had thought about that yet, Phil, because Phil is our visionary. He creates and then he lets us know, and it's fantastic. It works beautifully.
Actually, Kristen, people call me delusionary, not a
No, it's so beautiful. I love it.
But anyway, so we can both do virtual stuff. Obviously, there's telehealth now is a big thing. So they can contact either one of us or both of us, and we can do the telehealth thing. And again, the basic thing is, again, so because I'm also a trainer. In fact, with the couple we saw, we did what we call, you love this, Chris, the exercise snacks. You
Oh,
know,
yes,
yeah,
the
we
exercise snacks.
and anybody can do that. So that's one of the things, because this gentleman had a bad back and he couldn't get around. But and we mentioned you got to keep exercising. So I was able to show him some stuff to do with that. So again, we just bring again. Really, I hate to overuse the word holistic. We bring a holistic thing.
Mm-hmm.
The mind body connection is what it is. And again, it's something that taking care of the whole person as opposed to just compartmentalizing things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Oh, I love it. And that leads me into my next area I want to talk about is that integrative model and how you're both working together. So, Dual Minds does combine psychiatric care with biochemistry-based wellness education, as you just shared, Phil. How do those roles intersect for a patient? You just gave one example. Do you have some others and how you are integrating the two aspects?
Right, because what happens again, the mind and the body are definitely connected, and a lot of times they'll find out. One of the things, again, I'm big into that. We talked before about the ketogenic type of diet, and that's really big into getting people out of type 2 diabetes. So what'll happen is with Emily, she'll see somebody and she'll see maybe some psychological issues going on, and then we can basically just talk about this particular patient, and I can say, maybe we should try. In fact, there's Chris Palmer, who's one of the top psychiatrists. He's out of McLean and out of Harvard. He's treating so many people now with just diet, and that's a big thing. Nutritional psychiatry is a big thing right now. So it's
Mm,
not just. I mean, obviously, you need to see Dr. Emily to talk things out.
mhm,
And that type of stuff, and we just talked about the show about the lithium orotate being
mhm,
so important. So and again with Emily, she's not necessarily looking to put you on a lot. She can put you on a lot of drugs, but she doesn't want to put you on a lot of drugs. So she's
mhm,
going to try to find a way to maybe get you off the drugs, and
mhm,
because all drugs have side effects, somewhere.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so can you talk a little bit, Phil, about the metabolic foundations of mental health and how explain that connection for listeners who think of psychiatry and biochemistry as separate worlds?
Right, because what happens is again, your brain only makes up 2% of your body weight, but it uses 20% energy. It's a huge energy hog. So what happens is if you don't have, and the problem with dementia and Alzheimer's is everybody forms these amyloid plaques, but actually, Emily, I talked about this on our show today.
Mhm,
Was they found out when they did autopsies on people's brains with Alzheimer's and dementia, they still saw the amyloid plaque and they still saw the tau tangles. But what was missing? The people with the Alzheimer's dementia didn't have as much lithium orotate in their brain.
okay.
So we put everybody right, Emily. We put everybody on lithium orotate now.
Mhm.
That's one, and the other thing is creatine is a backup energy source. So, and
Mhm.
that's one of the most widely studied supplements of all time. So, and these are relatively inexpensive. And Emily, how many the couple we saw yesterday? How many drugs was that guy on?
Oh my gosh, it was definitely the cocktail. I think about 13 or 14.
And
Yeah.
and so what happened?
Polypharmacy. Polypharmacy at its finest.
So
Wow.
yeah, what happens is the doctor puts you on the drug. You get a side effect, and you get these three. You got to take this in the morning, this in the afternoon. The other
Mhm.
thing, Emily, I don't know. I'm assuming there's co-pays in these drugs, aren't there?
Yeah, the drugs cost money. It costs money to have the appointments to get the drugs. Um,
Mhm.
it, it Polypharmacy is one of the biggest things that causes issues, especially to older folks. And they think that they need to be on it because the doctor just prescribes it or the nurse practitioner. Well, they must have prescribed it for a reason instead of figuring things out. So, like, maybe you don't need one out of the 13. That's a win. If we can get you off of one medication, off of
Mhm.
13, in my mind, that's a huge win. That
Mhm.
med maybe could have cost anywhere from $2 or free, but some of them cost hundreds of dollars a month, along with the
Yeah.
side effects that you're talking about, Phil. And then they interact with other drugs that you're on. So it could not, it maybe doesn't have a, a traditional sense of a side effect, but if it interacts with another drug that you're on, it will certainly cause other issues. It happens all the time. Unfortunately.
It's interesting, and we could do a whole show on this topic altogether, but one thing that you both said that really stands out to me, and I watch it even with family members who are on all these medications, you see the pill box, it's lined up because you can't even remember what time of day you have to take which pill. So you have to spend, your Sunday laying out your meds for the week. And I find it fascinating to see the shift that we're seeing. So, and again, I love everybody in every generation, but our older generation specifically grew up in a healthcare model. And again, this could be a show by itself, but they grew up in a healthcare model where your doctor was the authority. You did what your doctor said. You didn't question. Now we're seeing such a shift where people are reclaiming their power when it comes to their health, mind, body, spirit, all the way around. And it's now shifting into a collaboration. So your younger generations are like, you want me to take this? Why? I can remember going into the doctor's office. I kept having heart palpitation issues. I was in my, I don't know, mid 20s. I had just had my second child and they wanted to put me on blood pressure medication. I'm like, so let me understand this. My weight is within range. I don't have blood pressure issues. I don't have cholesterol issues. My heart just randomly starts beating faster than it should. And your solution is blood pressure medication. Now, if I had been from a different generation, I probably would have said, well, absolutely. The doctor said I need it. I have to sign up. Instead, I was like, that sounds crazy. There's no logic between this here. I'm going to try something different. But it's really huge to see a lot of our elders who just follow the process because that's what they're told to do. So, but we could have
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you.
Go ahead.
Because
you're different, Phil. You're not like everybody in your generation.
I'm the crazy one. I admit to that right off the top. Yeah. But I give so many seminars to older people, and people, they realize the couple we had yesterday, Emily, right? They both said, they don't listen to us, they don't talk to us, blah, blah, blah. But again, they don't know what else to do, and they're afraid to come on off the meds because they don't know what's going to happen. Right. So we also have another colleague, actually teaches at the Mass School of Pharmacy. She's written books, Donna Bartlett, and basically we can consult with her too. She can look at all the stuff that she teaches, pharmacology, and she can tell you get off. So just that. The other thing a lot of people don't know, just like supplements, most pharmaceuticals are not made in this country. They're made in China and India. You can imagine the kind of quality control in China and India. So you don't even know if you're getting what you think you're getting. Right. Same with the supplements. You don't know. So yet it's basically Russian roulette with that stuff. You're taking those drugs. You don't know exactly. They were made in Bangladesh or someplace. You don't know what kind of stuff is in there.
Yeah, that's why it's so important for you to find a provider that has access to really high quality supplements and, and understands the pharmacology behind certain drugs. And he's talking the truth.
Oh, I agree. Yes, I get stressed out when I have clients show up and I'm like, you ordered it and you paid what? If you paid like $15 for something that's going to cost you, a month's worth, I'm quite certain it's not the right thing. Let's talk and let's dive deeper because there are levels to this stuff and there are quality control as well as quality of the product just in general. So, and I've experimented and played enough in the supplement world, even as a practitioner, to know that yes, you're going to have different results. So if you're going to spend the money, you want to get the result that you're looking for sure. So Emily, tell us, when does a patient care plan bring Phil's expertise into the picture? So you're working with someone. When are you like, hey, Phil, come over here. Got somebody. Let's do this.
I try right from square one. So if I have an intake, with a client, I'm asking them, oh my gosh, so many questions. And I start off by, just saying to the person, I have a lot of questions to ask you, and it's one and done. And I will ask you this many questions this time, and then we can kind of get into the groove with further appointments. But, you had asked before about the whole integrative approach, and Phil and I working together is the integrative approach. Normal Western psychiatry, I am a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So people will come to see me for therapy, but also for medication management. Western medicine, a lot of times it's like, here, take a antidepressant. or take an antipsychotic, or take a benzodiazepine for your anxiety. And then they come to me because they're totally frustrated and they're not sleeping and they're going through withdrawals if they stop the medication, and they feel more depressed after 2 years of being on an antidepressant, and they're just totally frustrated. So I start asking them questions about their sleep and their diet and how long have you been on those medications, and maybe we need to start fresh and screen them for other stuff. Maybe this is a mood disorder versus versus depression. And as I'm asking questions, my mind is thinking, okay, what are the possible, treatment options? And if it kind of falls in Phil's bubble, I definitely will, send out a SOS. Phil, I need you to come meet this patient. There's a ton of research right now that the keto diet is basically eliminating schizophrenia. Okay, well, let's just break that down. Schizophrenia itself is highly over diagnosed. So do you even really realize that they're schizophrenic? Chances are they're probably not. And then let's see if there's another reason for this. And then how can we treat it? So instead of putting them on an antipsychotic that will make them gain 100 pounds in a month, let's talk about your diet. And then we realize they were never schizophrenic, so they probably never needed that medication to begin with if we can cure it with the keto diet. It's thinking whole body.
I love it.
The other thing, Kristen, one of the things is I think, again, and anybody out there. So, and Emily works with kids on the spectrum. So I think I mentioned my son's got high functioning autism. And so we've seen therapists, and most of his therapists are basically, they're social workers, which is fine. And they do a good job at that. But then we had to drive all the way, 30 miles to see a psychiatrist once a year to get his anti-anxiety meds and stuff like that. With Emily, you don't have to do that. You got one-stop shopping. She not only is going to do the therapy part, she's also going to be able to do the management of the meds part. That's unusual because what happens is again, it's really expensive to see a psychiatrist. Just for the day-to-day stuff. The other thing is, and now Emily's getting most of the insurances now, so she's taking insurance. But again, we'll also, Emily, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we'll also, if you don't have the money, we're not going to kick you out. You know what I mean? We'll try to work. We'll try to work around. So what Emily does now, if you don't have enough money, she has you wash her cars and clean her house.
Come babysit my kids.
I love it. Service for service.
Right? Kristen, Phil said something really important. You spend so much money on a psychiatrist. I am not diminishing the value of a psychiatrist or another psychiatric nurse practitioner, in Western medicine. I was trained in Western medicine. There is a time and a place for it, and there are specialists. Generally speaking, just because it's costing you more money doesn't mean that it's necessarily good quality care. So they think, I'm going to a psychiatrist and, insurance pays for part of it. And if I can't afford it, well, I got to go on a wait list. And then they wait 3 years sometimes. So 3 years of not being managed for their psychiatric disorder. And then they get there and the person spends 10 minutes with them. And I'm like, oh my God. And then they paid, $500 out of their pocket for an upfront fee or whatever. But, it really is, it comes down to just being an awareness that there are other options.
Right. Yeah. The other big thing, Kristen, is what happens, as people probably know, a psychiatrist is actually a physician that's a specialist. Okay. And we talked before, the average physician has had 0 to 1 courses in nutrition. 0 to 1. So just this Chris Palmer saying, psychiatrists, they're not even thinking about nutrition as a possibility that this is a problem. All they know is, tell me about your childhood. Tell me about, I'm not saying that's not part of the picture, but they could be totally malnourished from something. They could be missing lithium orotate. They could be missing this. But again, I make a joke with a producer, Russ, that we have on the show. And in fact, he came up. He said, or I was talking about nutrition. He says, well, maybe you should ask your doctor. I said, no. I said, would you ask your plumber what you should eat? The plumbers had about as many courses in nutrition as your doctor has.
Mhm.
Most doctors now the government's saying they want to force these doctors to take courses in nutrition.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing. So again, you're as Emily's saying, you're only dealing with what happened in your childhood. Maybe your diet, maybe you're eating ringdings. We talked about basically the Twinkie defense with a kid that shot the mayor. They got him off because his brain was messed up because he was eating too many sugary things. Again, maybe
Mhm.
your diet just sucks, and maybe that's the problem.
Mhm.
It's fascinating you say that. As you were talking, some of the things that came to mind were, for example, um, you go to the mechanic with your car without knowing what type of oil you're using in your car, the grade of gas that you're putting in your car,
Mhm.
and you're wondering, oh, my check engine light keeps coming on. And half the time they look and they're like, all right, what kind of gas are you using? What type of oil? It's the same thing with food. What are you pouring
Mhm.
into this machine? Because if you're pouring something into the machine and it's not the right match or it's a lesser quality, you're going to have worse
Like
performance.
Twinkies.
It's,
Twinkies.
yeah.
Can't live off of Twinkies.
Yes, yes. I mean, if you have a car that requires 93 and you're putting 87 in it and you're like, I don't know why my check engine light keeps coming on or why this car is not running efficiently. Same thing. If you have this, our bodies are these high tech, amazing, beautiful things. They know how to heal themselves, and you're pouring all this garbage into it. Or maybe you're pouring good stuff or what you perceive to be good stuff, but don't get me started on how much our food is altered and all of those
Yeah.
things or the chemicals that are on the food. And so you might think you're eating something fantastic, and reality is, you're eating something that's covered in chemicals, and you'll have, some issues that result from that. But a lot of times nobody wants to explore that, especially again, if you're sitting in the doctor's office, even though the statement has always been since I was a kid, you are what you eat. Well, if that's the case, why the heck are we not studying what we're eating?
Well, Kristen, it takes so much assessment and question after question after question to get
Hmm.
down to those root cause. You're talking about the root
Yeah.
cause. So, like
Hmm.
an example is I see a lot of first responders and veterans because a lot of veterans wind up being first responders, police,
Hmm.
fire, EMS. And I had one guy who came in and he's talking about how he sleeps like 9 hours a week. And so my mind instantly goes to, oh, it's because you're a first responder, and they do 24-hour shifts. And a lot of times they will do 2 or 3 24-hour shifts in a row. This is legal.
Mm.
And they legit will camp out at the police station or whatever for like 72 hours in a row. Like they're just
Hmm.
working nonstop. So they work like 120 hours a week because they need the extra money. They don't get paid enough.
Hmm.
So, my mind, I learned an important lesson with this. Uh, my first meeting with him, I automatically assumed it was because he was working so much. And then a couple appointments in, I realize that's not actually the case. Yes, yes, he is working a lot, but he's doom scrolling. When he does
Mm.
have the opportunity to lay in bed and get restful sleep, he's on his
Mhm.
cell phone on TikTok and YouTube and he's doom
Mhm.
scrolling. That has a whole algorithm and it winds up sending you really bad videos that are people, being kidnapped and killed and, so on and so forth. And I'm like, you're acting a little bit manic because you're not sleeping, because you're doom scrolling, because you're getting negative things put into your face. You need to
Mhm.
change the algorithm. Get off of your cell phone. And if you are, put in a bunch of stuff like positive, positive, positive. And the second he did that, oh my gosh, it was like a new person. But it's so simple, but yet so overlooked.
Mhm.
Instead, somebody else might just prescribe Ambien or melatonin. There's nothing wrong with melatonin, but I'm telling you, the longer you're on it, you get nightmares and like it's fine. It's just
Mhm.
some people respond differently. Ambien is a pretty strong medication that is very hard to come off of. Instead, put down your cell phone. Simple.
It's very fascinating that you brought that up because it makes me just have a moment where, you think you're at the mercy of the person sitting in front of you. If you put all of your faith and trust into this authority figure that's going
Mhm.
to tell you what you need to do, what medication you take, that person is still a person. They're going to look at things through their lens. So if I show up in the office, and I know Phil's all about this conversation, the diagnose and adios conversation, but if
Mm-hmm.
I only have a few minutes with you, am I
Oh,
going
you
to
can
ask you, so what do
feel
you
it.
do at night before
Mm-hmm.
bed? What are you eating? Hey, can you go do a food journal for me for a week? People aren't going
Yep.
to do that in a certain space where the model is not conducive to that. So it's faster for me to just say, just like you said with the couple you saw yesterday, let me do a quick assessment. Let me use my own professional judgment and my own lens that I'm looking through to say, yep, this is what this person has. And you could have very well done that with that gentleman you
Mm-hmm.
were working with, but then you said, no, 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 let's talk a little further. Your doctor probably never would have even, if you were just
Never.
sitting in the doctor's office doing your health assessment or your annual physical, would never have even thought to say, so do you doom scroll before you go to bed? They'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
what? No, what do you
Mm-hmm.
mean? We would be all confused, right? We just go in and say, hey, I don't feel great. Things aren't working. And sleep isn't even usually talked about, but that's a whole nother
Yep.
issue.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
that was going
one
to
thing,
lead. Go ahead. Yeah.
talking of, people don't even realize. So what happens in addition to getting all agitated with the doom scrolling, people don't realize that phones give off blue light, and
Yes.
blue light shuts down your melatonin. And most
Mm-hmm.
people don't even know that. So if
Hmm.
nothing else, you can change them over to night mode on most phones to a
Yeah.
red. And
Simple.
the reason that
Yep.
they can't sleep is because, again, we have these blue light glasses. I don't have them on right now, but it blocks all the blue light, so they
Hmm.
can still do what they want to do. But we're the blue light blocking glasses 2 to 3 hours, so we can make very simple suggestions that can make a
Hmm.
huge impact. But they don't
Absolutely.
know. It's education. It's
It is
educating people.
education. Hmm.
And then they understand. Oh, now it makes sense. This is the reason it takes
Hmm.
me 6 hours to go to bed, because my
Hmm.
melatonin shut down because I've been looking at blue screens all day.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now you've watched things, as Dr. Emily shared, where your whole nervous system is out of whack because you're like, oh my gosh, your body is watching these videos that are horrific. And then
Yep.
immediately your cortisol's up the
Yep.
roof. And I mean, all these things start happening and we don't even realize it. We think we're just looking at, you know, a video. And it's so much more than that. So much more. So we talked about the first responder. I was going to ask you guys a little bit about working with first responders and what you're seeing in the different populations and how this combined approach that you're doing together is helping individuals in that veteran space, first
Yeah.
responders, anybody who's really working on those front lines. Are there certain things that you're seeing where you're able to really bring, of course, Phil mentioned education, but bring more to the table working with them?
First responders and veterans are an entirely different bubble than normal people. So you really, really need to take a very um, different approach. It's trauma informed.
Mhm.
They can't be on certain medications. They will lose their gun license. If you get a mental health diagnosis, you can't stay in the military. You can't go in the
Mhm.
military.
Mhm.
And there's huge stigmas that wind up being attached to first responders and veterans because they're there to help us. We
Mhm.
shouldn't have to help them. That's
Mm.
what they're afraid of. So I have clients who come in and they if they see another person in the parking lot, they won't even get out of their car. They will text me and say, is it okay if I come in? And I have to make sure there's nobody in the hallway. I have two other exits for them to exit the office. Um, they're very afraid of having other people know that they're getting mental health support.
Mm.
So that is confidentiality is probably the number one thing that you think about with first
Mhm.
responders and veterans. And then they're so ingrained in the tough guy approach that they are very sick when they come to see you. Like they're
Mm.
at their desperate phase.
Mhm.
So by the time they get support, they've either gone through multiple other avenues to try to fix themselves. Maybe their primary care. I have some guys that don't even want me to connect with their primary care because they're afraid of how they're going to be perceived. um,
Documentation, right? Once it's in the
that's
file. Mhm.
documentation once it's in the file. But, the other thing that I found that really works very effectively is you take care of them, but you also take care of their family. So their partner is just as, you know, upset over what's going on with their loved one, and their kids also have trauma, and it's just you can't put them in a silo because they're
Mm-hmm.
part of the bubble, so you need to treat the whole bubble. So I have Phil. He's a great resource for me. A lot of these people wind up really enjoying working out, and they have their own supplements that they're on, and they are very smart, like they're
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilders, or they've gotten this far, and they're extremely resilient until they start to crumble. So Phil
Mm-hmm.
kind of jumps in and helps me out with that. I have another nurse practitioner who will see the kids if I don't have any availability. Many
Very
first
cool.
responders have ADHD. That's why they
Mm-hmm.
love being a first responder. And then their kids have ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have like therapists that will wind up seeing the wives or, their partners, and just whole body, whole family, let's
Mm.
try to take care of the whole picture. We should put that on a
Beautiful.
on a t-shirt,
Yeah,
Phil.
yeah. The other thing, Emily, is that we do it. That's unique. The other thing we find is we've been working with people that are abusing alcohol, and
Oh,
obviously
Mm.
the whole
a
thing with
lot of
first
substance abuse.
responders. So
Hmm.
you have the alcoholic part. So one of the things, and I've mentioned this before, it's no secret. At one time I was a functioning alcoholic, no DWIs, nothing like that. So I've been through it, and
Mm-hmm.
like they do with AA, is somebody has been through it before can relate to you a lot better because they've been through that struggle. So you can kind of relate to them. This is what I did to get off the booze. And so I ran across something that worked really well. In fact, it helped a relative of mine. We went out to dinner once, and she had 3 glasses of wine before the food even came. We have an alcoholic gene in the family. Both of my kids, they're off it now, but we were drinking like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened is I said, I said to my relative, I said, look, I said, I'm a little worried about you. You had 3 glasses of wine before anything even came. And she goes, yeah, yeah. So anyway, so going back to a little bit of history of science. So what happened is Hans Krebs, he the one that won the Nobel Prize for the Krebs cycle. Richard Veitch worked with him, and Richard Veitch developed this thing. It's called keto alcohol. So
Okay.
what it is, it's good. Now it's not real alcohol. What it does though, by you drinking it, it gives you that little bit of buzz. It takes the edge off. You might have
Mm-hmm.
heard that expression. I need a drink to take the edge off. I had a tough
Mm-hmm.
day. I've seen dead people, like first responders, and the
Mm-hmm.
rest of it. So it's hard to go from drinking several beers a day to nothing, straight out, just cold turkey. So it works. So what happens is you drink this, it puts you in a ketogenic state, but it gives you that little buzz. But they can pull you over. There's no alcohol in your system. There's no DWI. Maybe drink 2, 3 at the most of these things. So that's a way to kind of get off of it slowly, to titer off of the alcohol. So that's something else that we offer,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of that. And then again, if you're not in the Worcester area, we have ways of doing that. We can get you a discount on this, and then we can obviously, with Dr. Emily and myself, we can walk you through it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
something else we offer. Best of my knowledge, nobody else is doing, because it's hard to get off the alcohol cold turkey. Anybody's have to try
Mm.
it. It's really hard because you get into that habit. So that's something else that we can do also.
Oh, that's amazing. And Emily, I wanted to ask you about perinatal mental health because I know that's really personal for
Mm.
you. So, how does whole body metabolic thinking show up in supporting new moms and expecting moms?
Well, as a mom myself, and talking to the choir, you as a mom, um,
Yes.
your hormones are out of control when you
Mm,
are pregnant, and when you just had a baby. You might have had some mental illness prior to that. And
mm,
now you add on, you're not eating appropriately, you're burning a ton of calories because you might be breastfeeding or just stress of having a newborn.
mhm,
And then you add on the mental illness that you might have had before. And then you add on another layer where you're not sleeping. So it's literally like the perfect storm. Um,
mm,
and if you have any compassion and empathy for a certain population, I would hope that people would have, a soft spot in their heart for moms, because we
mm,
are so stressed out. I
mhm,
remember I remember when my girls were, I think about, I had twins, so I was like a milkmaid. I was breastfeeding and I
Mm-hmm.
was going hard or go home. I loved
Mm-hmm.
it and they loved it, but it was exhausting. I think the first year of their life, I had slept for maybe an hour a night. I would take little naps, but I was exhausted.
Right.
And I remember rocking them when they were about 2 weeks old, thinking, it's okay. So, I want to say this for all you listeners. It is okay to have thoughts.
Right.
Thoughts are okay. It doesn't necessarily mean you are going to act on them.
Mm-hmm.
Intrusive thoughts are okay. If you have a plan, that's not okay. So, sometimes people feel really guilty for having intrusive thoughts, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just that. It's a thought. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. So I remember sitting and breastfeeding them in the living room and thinking, I totally understand why moms pack up their kids in their minivan and drive into the ocean.
Mm.
And then, oh my God, it just hit me. It gets me worked up just thinking about it right now because,
Yeah.
you're thinking about killing your family. Doesn't mean
Right.
you're going to do it, but I was so broken at that point. And I had Mama Bear was kicking in and I love my children and I'm going to survive, sleeping 1 hour a night. And it just gave me a whole different perspective. So now when perinatal mood disorders, which is, postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, it could be anxiety, when they come in, I just want to give them a big hug because I can sympathize and empathize with what they're
Mm-hmm.
going through. And there are
Mm-hmm.
so many great strategies that you can do without being on medications, but some of them need to be on medications. They
Yeah.
don't need to be on it for the rest of their life, like
Right.
which winds up happening where 5 years later they're still on Zoloft or Celexa.
Mm-hmm.
No, they might need it
Yeah.
just for like 6 months.
Ooh.
So you have to have people who are trained in this, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then
Yeah.
you add
Beautiful.
first responder on top of it. A lot of first responders are married to nurses, and then those
Mm-hmm.
nurses will come in and see me because they have a newborn and neither of them are sleeping, and it's like the perfect storm.
I was going to say it's perfect storm. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that. I want to jump into some of the cool things you're doing because I know we only have a few more minutes left and I want to
Mm-hmm.
throw some additional, I mean, everything you're doing is cool, but this
Mm-hmm.
is some new stuff that you've integrated. So I want you to talk a little bit about how Dual Minds is using tools like red light therapy, vagal nerve simulation, and how do those fit alongside some of the more traditional medication management areas?
We have to incorporate some of those in order to get people to be fixed. And they come because some of them do, but most of them don't want to be on Western medicine. They're just sick of it. They've already gone through the grind and the meds are
Mm-hmm.
not working. So you
Okay.
have to incorporate. So pairing them up with Phil, nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
exercise, like the exercise snacks, that is life changing.
Mm-hmm.
We have a red light, infrared light that goes over a door. And then, even if placebo is what happens, which I know doesn't, there's science behind this and it does, but
Right.
I have them come in for their appointment and they go to the red light, infrared light that's hanging over the door. It's medical quality. You're targeting your cells in your muscles and in your membranes, and it targets the mitochondria, which then creates ATP, which then eventually turns into neurotransmitters. Serotonin is made in your stomach. Like, you have to think outside the box. But if they come before their appointment for therapy and med management and they have this little spa experience, calming music, they have the red lights a little warmer on them.
Mm-hmm.
By the time they're ready to sit in front of me, they're like zen. And
Yes.
even if nothing else has happened besides that, I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy. But
Yes.
I know that they are relaxed a little bit more to get to the grind. And then,
Mm-hmm.
fight or flight is controlled by your vagal nerve. So we have vagal nerve stimulators. We have the
Mm-hmm.
helmet that we've talked about. We have, Phil, do you want to talk about the cube?
Oh yeah, so this is on yours. So we also have this big thing. The new thing in medicine now is called quantum biology. Most people know about quantum physics.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all energy beings, and that's what happens. So these particular blocks, what they do is they give off a very specific frequency. And what it does is it neutralizes what they call non-native EMF. They stop coming off of Wi-Fi routers and stuff like that. A lot of people have heard about people being sensitive to this stuff. They make them sick because it's too much. It messes
Mm-hmm.
up a little bit of biochemistry, your calcium channels. doesn't work. It doesn't work very well. So what this does, it neutralizes it. But the other thing, it gives off a positive quantum energy. So in fact, Emily, why don't you talk about the kid on the spectrum? The mother
Oh.
brought her in,
Mhm.
and and what happened? I think this is a perfect example.
Well, people come in, I would say 9.9 out of 10 people come in and they say it feels good in your office. You know, most psychiatric and even just Western medicine, they walk in and it's like doomsday. Like it's sterile, it's yuck, you know, it just feels heavy. So we've had this cube in the waiting room, and I have autistic children that I take care of. I have one little girl who's 4 years old. She has a genetic condition where her white matter in her brain is a little bit abnormal. So she presents as severe autism. So the first appointment, the mom had called me when they were outside, and she's like, I just got to give you fair warning. She hates doctors. When I told her that we were going to the doctor's office, she threw a fit. You know, some of this could have been the mom and the kids feeding off of the mom, but regardless, it doesn't matter. She presents as signs and symptoms of autism, and you can't control that. Like kids can't control that. So I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. I opened the door, you know, I'm so happy to have you here. And she was freaking out. She walked it. She's 4. A 4-year-old's not going to lie to you of the chaos that's going into in their brain, right? This has happened with an 11-year-old autism child that I also take care of. And I have a couple of 16-year-olds. Every single one does the same exact thing. So when they walk in, it's like the chaos stops in their head, and they're actually upset to leave. So some of the parents, yeah, they're like clinging on to the floor, like, I don't want to leave. But I think it's because they don't have the frying that's going on in their head, because we have this positive energy and no EMF. So some of the parents have even talked about, when I save up money, I want to buy one of those cubes, you know. So now we've become distributors because it's by demand, and that is a very real thing. So the kids love coming to my office. The adults are like, oh my God, it feels so good. So if you can get people to come for mental health and whole body, you know, wellness, and be happy about it, mental health, be happy about getting mental health care. Not too many people feel happy about coming to talk about their traumas as a child. So it works. I'm sold. I'm sold, Phil. You've changed my life.
Yeah. So the other thing about this is this study out of MIT, and we did this with a couple, something called gamma waves, and it's a very particular frequency of light and sound. And it changes when the people do EEGs on your head to see them. It changes how your brain's working. And as Emily had mentioned, we also have the alpha waves to kind of calm you down. So this, I know it sounds like voodoo science, but this is well established.
Oh,
You're
absolutely.
actually changing the brain wave, and you're changing the vagal nerve. So this gives off that particular frequency. You don't see it when you do with the gamma, because we play it. You can see it going on. So we give you a lot of this quantum biology. In fact, the next big thing in medicine is going to be quantum biology. They're working on energy, because we're energy beings, and it's changing your energy. Or just like most people know, you walk into a room, you meet somebody, and you feel really, really good, or maybe you feel really, really bad. So you can pick that up.
You're absolutely speaking my language, Phil. You know I'm there for it. It's all about the energy. It's all about the biofield. It's calming the static that's in your biofield. And when you can do that and you use frequency to change that space, you can calm everything in the body down. But when you're being bombarded by, EMFs and environmental toxins and chemicals and everything else, your entire biofield is completely scrambled. So the signal, like the radio signal, is not clear. It's staticky. You're just hearing static, and it makes people go inside. Especially see it in this. I experienced this personally working at a location with servers. There were constant server rooms all throughout the building, and I'm super sensitive to that EMF frequency. And towards the end of my time working in that building, I literally felt like I was floating, and my body was just going inside. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm perfectly normal. Like, what's happening? And it was all of those frequencies. When you tap in and you become sensitive to energy, you really start to recognize it. All right, I know we're getting close to the end, but I do have a question I want to get to. I didn't get to everything, but that's okay. We can bring you back on. But if someone that's listening is on the fence about seeking the kind of whole person care that we've talked about today, what would you say to each of them? Share with me that message.
Oh, Phil, you want to go first?
Okay. Yeah, just reach out. It's philgeorge@charter.net, and just email me. We can do a virtual, we can do a telehealth thing. Emily and I can, and
Mhm.
depending on what you need, again, we're doing a holistic approach.
Mhm.
And even again, I'm a trainer. I can show you different things to do, like I did with the other couple. So we're doing body, the physical thing. We're also doing the nutrition and other things. And then if you need somebody, just to talk to, well, things you talked about, then that's where Dr. Emily comes in.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think my answer to that is just reach out. What's the harm? Am I
Mm.
going to say, I can't help you? Well, okay, well, you didn't know that until you called. But it takes a lot of courage to ask for help. And
Mhm.
if you know that you can do it in a judgment-free
Mhm.
environment, that is our goal. We're here to help.
Absolutely. Ooh, I love it. Well, I want to thank both of you for your time today. We covered a lot.
Mm.
Again, can you just give us the information? Where can they find you? Phil, I know you just shared. It's
Yeah.
like I feel like I've got your email memorized. People ask me for it. I'm like, hold on. It's like a jingle in my head.
Yeah.
Dr. Emily, how can people find you at Dual Minds? Please give the contact info.
Yeah, so go to my website, www.dualminds with an S, psychiatry.com. You can fill out a contact us form, and you can always email me at ecabrera, Cabrera, at dualmindspsychiatry.com. That's easiest.
Fantastic.
Thank
Well,
you,
thank you
Kristen.
again, both of you, Dr. Emily, Phil. This was a wonderful conversation and for all the great work you're doing. It's so important. So keep doing
Thanks.
it. It is, yeah, it's very much needed in this world. And you are on the cutting edge of that shift. We're just in that new space where everyone's waking up and really realizing I need a team to help me survive
Mhm.
this human experience because that's what it's all about. We're trying to make it through our human
Mhm.
experience while we're here on this earth. So, for our listeners, until next time, be well and stay blessed.
I